featured review. And for this week, we are reviewing a big festival hit from this year that instantly became a very anticipated movie. Just came out on Amazon Prime this weekend. It is Annette, starring Adam Driver, Marion Cotillard, and Simon Helberg. Todd, I'm starting with you because
we got to go to Zach because he's a Sparks Brothers genius.
We gotta start with
Todd.
you.
It's a Leos Carax movie before a Sparks movie.
Exactly. So Todd, tell us all about Annette, if you can, and what you thought.
Okay, Annette is the name of the daughter of a stand-up comedian played by Adam Driver and a opera singer played by Marion Cotillard. And that is about as much plot as there is. It's complicated in the way that Leos Carax only can do. And Simon Helberg is character's name is the accompanist.
Yes.
And this, Leos Carax, of course, the director of Holy Motors, and written by Ron Mael and Russell Mael, who are the Sparks brothers, who evidently made the movie. They wanted it to be like an album, and then they decided that they couldn't really make it an album, so they decided to write a movie around it, which makes a lot of sense. And I don't know what this movie is. Like, with Holy Motors, Leos Carax is working in French, and so like the wackiness and incomprehensibility is like endearing and unique, but in English it just seems random. And it's in love with its own ideas and allure, so it comes off like an indulgent David Lynch type movie, which I'm kind of okay with. But that is not exactly what I was expecting going into this. And you could tell there's not really a script. It's a series of songs that is strung together by scenes of things that are happening. Like, I can't really describe, but put around some sort of basic plot. And it's like once, but with no real decipherable anything happening between songs, and there's basically no speaking. But I have to say, like, the movie is really hypnotic in how it spins its web. And even though it's way too long, it never really gets boring. It's just fascinating to look at. Adam Driver is really good, but he's not a good singer. Like, I mean, that was one problem I had with the movie. There's a little bit of Rex Harrison in what he's doing here, and especially in his mustache. But I mean, also in the fact that I think there's a little bit of Unfaith But Yours here. Marion Cotillard is great. But more than anything, the movie kind of feels like a play. Like, there's nothing really cinematic going on. The visuals are pretty basic, and I think it would really be easy to replicate it on stage. I think it'd be probably a better play than it is a movie. But it's something else. I mean, and it got to me, and I was enjoying it. But it's not Holy Motors. It's a 3-star movie.
Okay, 3 stars from Todd. Zach, where are you at with this? I know you are a huge fan of the Sparks brothers. So
yes, that was like one of the most unenthusiastic 3-star reviews I've ever heard. I still don't know. What did you like about it?
I thought it was hypnotic to watch. Like, it was something that it just like it brings you in, but I just don't know what it's bringing you into.
Okay, and yet 2.5 stars for Stillwater. Okay, whatever. All right. So Annette,
I didn't hate the ending.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good starting off point. I will say, I think I really liked the first 5 minutes of this movie and the last 5 minutes of this movie. The first 5 minutes actually really kind of got me like going. I was kind of excited. More movies need to start like that. Like, without spoiling too much, you get the whole cast there. It's like it's in one long take.
That song is now on my phone.
The Copacabana sequence from Goodfellas, you got a little bit there. It's a cool way to start a movie. I really like that. I think only a French director could do something like that though. And I will have to say that the last part of the movie was interesting. The last scene, because again, without spoiling too much, there are things that it goes in a direction you don't necessarily expect, but is oddly sort of poignant. And, even though I didn't appreciate this movie for long stretches of it, I did think, okay, well, I've been with these characters for a long time, and there is some like resonance a little bit with the final scene. But I'm going to have to give this movie thumbs down. I thought I was going to echo a lot of what Todd was saying. I think this movie is supremely self-indulgent. It meanders. It has scenes that seem quite pointless. Nothing happens in this movie for really the first 60 minutes of this movie. I think Carax would say maybe it's for character development, but honestly, you could probably start this movie at the 60-minute mark and just be fine. Adam Driver in this movie, I mean, his stage persona is, some people have compared it to Steve Martin, maybe Andrew Dice Clay. I sort of think it's a little bit like Stephen Wright meets Tappy Tibbins from Requiem for a Dream, because you got the like juice by Sarah with the audience. And
why'd you become a comedian?
yeah, it's like the most dour, depressing comedy ever. And I know this is not an original comment, but like the fact that this guy is the world's most popular comic is just ridiculous. And I think this gets to another problem with the movie, which is a problem sometimes that I've seen in Lars von Trier movies, which is that Leos Carax is not a director who understands the United States. Lars von Trier famously refuses to film in the United States. And so, but his movies all seem to take place there. And so as a result, there's like a little bit of disconnect, like Eyes Wide Shut, which was not shot in New York City, doesn't feel like it's New York City. This movie does not feel like it's shot in America. And I also have to say, Leos Carax there are scenes in this movie that are trying, I guess, to satirize like Entertainment Tonight, like tabloid news media that it doesn't feel authentic at all. And then, of course, we have to talk about the Super Bowl, which was evidently played between Michigan and Ohio State. And this does not feel... This is like the most. It didn't feel at all like the Super Bowl whatsoever. It felt like someone who's never watched football trying to replicate maybe what the Super Bowl is like. We have to talk a little bit about Sparks. Sparks. They are musicians that are admired by many. I am not one of them. I've made that very clear, even though I think their documentary has some odd parallels to this movie in the sense of its self-indulgence, in the sense of it being overlong, also some weird puppets in both movies as well, and some bad music. Now, I will say, there are some decent songs in this movie. The main song, We Love Each Other So Much, is fine. And I like that it's kind of repeated throughout as a motif. But the Sparks brothers, like Philip Glass, tend to repeat the same lyrics over and over again. There's really only about 10 words in each of their songs, it feels like. I would agree with Todd that the singing in this movie kind of leaves a lot to be desired. It's a little hard to believe Marion Cotillard is an opera singer as well, even though she's an Oscar winner for playing a singer. Simon Helberg in this movie, wanted more of him. I was hoping he'd bring out his Nicolas Cage or Billy Baldwin impression, but that was not meant to be, unfortunately. This movie, it's hard to watch this movie and not think about Dancer in the Dark, because, Dancer in the Dark was also a musical that was sort of a downer. But Dancer in the Dark was so much better because it had authenticity. I don't know. This movie's fun. I guess I admire, to some degree, I admire a director who's bold and doesn't want to just do what everyone else is doing. I think Leos Carax is a gifted director. He has great vision for this movie. And Todd's right. It's not necessarily that it's boring. It's just kind of overdone and unrealistic. I give it 2 stars, but I do feel like if you're ambitious enough, if you have that sort of taste for movies that are so offbeat and so unusual that they're worth seeing just for the audacity of the construction of it, then it's probably worth checking out. The Sparks Brothers documentary was better than this movie. I'll put it out there, but it's kind of a mess.
I just find it interesting that I've never heard of the Sparks Brothers before this year, and then you have a documentary about their music made by Edgar Wright, and now you have a musical starring Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard.
Well, the documentary went into the making of this movie a little bit. They talked about the kind of long, strung out production of the making of this movie.
It's just crazy that all of a sudden this group that apparently has been around forever that I've never heard of is got 2 movies in the same year. I'm giving it 2.5 stars, so I'm between you guys. Now, famously, Holy Motors, Todd named his number 1 of whatever year that was.
2012.
2012, and I named it the worst movie of the year once I saw it. This one is better than Holy Motors, simply in that there is some sort of plot. There is something going on. I think the musical... I always like musicals, and there are some really good songs, some catchy songs. Like I said, The opening song of this is now on my phone, and I think one of the best comments I saw about Annette over the weekend on Twitter was that regardless whether Annette gets nominated for any Oscars, it's a missed opportunity if the Oscars don't start with "So May We Start." Like that would just be brilliant. This movie falls into a trap of a lot of musicals in that it starts off, and at the beginning I was kind of fascinated by it. It was weird, it was crazy, it was something else, but it had me. And then if you have a gimmick kind of like this has, it's a quirk that fascinates you. Eventually it gets old and you lose focus, you don't care as much anymore. And so by the time you get to the end of it, the end has some really interesting stuff going on, but you have to go through so much to get there that kind of loses its way in the middle. So it kind of like what you guys have been saying. It's a strong beginning, it's a strong ending, but in the middle it kind of loses its way a little bit. I thought Adam Driver was fine. He's not the greatest singer in the world, but he is serviceable in this role. I don't think Marion Cotillard ages, which I think is really weird. But 2.5 stars. I thought about giving it 3, but it just got too not interesting in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this movie is just, I don't know. I think it's trolling. It's trolling audiences. I don't like movies that do that. You know, it's like instead of trying to go for shock value or just avant-garde, why don't you try to tell a story that's like unique and original? Like this movie has a trajectory in its narrative that you've seen in so many different movie musicals, and just it feels The Star is Born, the artist. I mean, the whole like idea of the careers going in different pathways, and that I think there is a kind of veneer that kind of covers up what is sort of an uninteresting story. I also have to say, as potentially moving as that final 10 minutes were, I couldn't help but also think that it felt a little bit like an SNL sketch or a Family Guy digression, for 10 seconds. It just, but in a way, like, hats off to Adam Driver for doing a performance like that and for, showing emotion in front of a puppet. Team America World Police is an underrated movie too.
And I will agree that the unexpected spark, you could say, in the movie was Simon Helberg, and he needed to be in more. Like, we needed more Simon Helberg. Like, take a song or two away from Adam Driver and give Simon Helberg more to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Ben Stiller.
Hey,
what? Sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's better. That's better.
Whoa. Yeah.
Terry's got it. Yeah, that's it. Why did Annette go on the Conan O'Brien show? Annette should have been making some late night TV appearances if she's that big. If she's going to perform at the Super Bowl, she needs more media saturation, and I think we needed more cameos for that. Maybe James Corden would have loved that.
No, Conan's the perfect one. Conan would have been the perfect one.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe
she was a redhead, by the way. She was a redhead, so
that's true. They could have talked about that. Yeah.
And he totally would have. All right. Well, 3 stars from Todd, 2.5 from me, 2 from Zach. Todd, do you have anything else to say as the one thumbs up of the group?
No, I mean, I feel like we're all really in agreement. We just graded it differently.
I think you're right. Okay.